come to speak?
I'm just a son,
See no one, we'll move forward. Let's move to the non-consent item, please. Introductory ordinance 19-28, considering finance. Councilman Matson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I stand and ask for unanimous consideration on ordinance 19-28.
Second.
An ordinance,
Plan.
No, it says plan.
Plan.
okay? An ordinance amending the code of the city of Binghamton, chapter 240, flood damage prevention, section 4, administration. Thank you.
Questions or comments? Councilman Screen.
Thank you, Mr. President. For our residents and constituents that are here, as well as those that are watching or soon will be watching at home, this piece of legislation is again just to streamline in the Department of Planning the permit process in order to alleviate a level of bureaucracy and red tape and allow more singularity with regard to permit applications going to the Director of Planning herself. Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
Call question.
Questions are called.
Councilman Scaringi?
Aye.
Councilman Livingston?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kranz?
Aye.
Councilman Taylor?
Aye.
Councilman Papstrand?
Aye.
Councilman Mazza?
Aye.
And President Scanlon.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Now to introductory ordinance 19-29, considered finance. Councilman Papstrand.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for unanimous approval of introductory ordinance 019-29.
Second.
And this is an ordinance to amend the 2019 Binghamton-Johnson City Joint Sewage Treatment Facility budget to increase appropriations for unemployment insurance.
Questions or comments?
Before we do that, Mr. President, before we proceed with discussion of the bond ordinance, I wanted to note for the record that on February 27, 2018, the City of Binghamton Planning Commission issued...
Hold on.
Chris, that's for the next.
That's,
Yeah,
next one.
You're right.
this is just a,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah,
Question or comments on introductory ordinance 19-29?
Mr. President.
Councilman Screen.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is just a budget transfer of $1,400 to just make sure things are leveled out in the actual budget itself. It's not a bond. Thank you, Mr. President.
Other questions or comments?
Call the question, Mr. President.
Questions been called?
Councilman Scaringi?
Aye.
Councilman Livingston?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kranz?
Aye.
Councilman Taylor?
Aye.
Councilman Papstrand?
Aye.
Councilman Mazza?
Aye.
And President Scanlon.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes, 0 nays.
On to introductory ordinance 19-30, considered finance. Councilman Papstrand.
Thank you, Mr. President. Got a little ahead of myself.
You're up.
I'd like to ask for unanimous approval of 019-30.
Second.
This is an ordinance amending bond ordinance of the City of Binghamton, New York, adopted March 6, 2019, amending the bond ordinance adopted March 21, 2018, relating to construction of a new parking garage at 7 Holly Street in the city. And again, before we proceed with discussion of the bond ordinance, I want to note for the record that on February 27, 2018, City of Binghamton Planning Commission issued a negative declaration under seeker for this specific project. That is the proposed construction of a municipal parking ramp at 7 Holly Street. The statement and copy of parts 2 and 3 of the environmental assessment form from the Planning Commission should be included in the City Council.
Questions or comments?
Call the question.
Questions are called?
I need to reintroduce it.
I think it still has to be read into the record.
Yeah, I'm okay.
So, again, I would like to ask for unanimous approval of introductory ordinance 19-30
Second.
and amending bond ordinance of the City of Binghamton, New York, adopted March 6, 2019, amending the bond ordinance adopted March 21, 2018, relating to construction of a new parking garage at 7 Holly Street.
Now call the question.
Questions or comments? Seeing none. Go, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Mr. President.
Sorry about that.
No, my apologies. I probably should have put my hand up more. Again, just in light of the last vote that was taken on this and its origination, this doesn't increase the overall scale, if you will, in terms of the project, but I didn't vote for it the first time, and I would want to be supporting it.
Thank you. Call the question now.
Question been called?
Councilman Scarnecchia?
Nay.
Councilman Livingston?
Nay.
Councilwoman Kranz?
Aye.
Councilman Taylor?
Aye.
Councilman Pastrana?
Aye.
Councilman Mazza?
Aye.
President Scanlon?
Aye.
That's 5 ayes, 2 nays, Livingston and Scarnecchia.
To introductory ordinance 19-31, considered finance, Councilman Pastrana.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask unanimous approval of introductory ordinance 019-31.
Second.
This is a bond ordinance of the City of Binghamton, New York, adopted March 6, 2019, amending the bond ordinance adopted February 18, 2015, and heretofore amended on March 7, 2018 on account of the State Street reconstruction project. And there's a secret done on this also.
We have to do it.
A motion to identify the proposed action as type 2 under seeker for the following reasons. This is an amendment to a 2015 bond for the rehabilitation of State Street. The amendment increases the amount of the project to $2,300,000 for pavement replacement, signal costs, and general increases in expenses. In sum, this is repair and maintenance, not involving new travel lanes, and to improve pedestrian safety.
Motion. Second. Voice vote.
Voice. All in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
Just move it on there. Go to the next one.
So now we'll read it into the record and pass it
Okay.
after the signature.
Mr. President, I'd like to read it back into the record. This is introductory ordinance 019-31. I ask for unanimous approval.
Second.
Bond ordinance in the City of Binghamton, New York, adopted March 6, 2019, amending the bond ordinance adopted February 18, 2015, and heretofore amended on March 7, 2018 on account of the State Street reconstruction project.
Questions or comments? Councilman Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to speak to the importance of this project. Thank you. Over the past couple of years, we've put a lot of focus on our city's gateways. Drivers driving in on Front Street into the city of Binghamton feel this every day. The avenues into our city are critical as they are the first impressions of our city, and they're also some of the most significant and major thoroughfares in our city. As a representative for the 4th District, the gateway into downtown Binghamton, or at least the most major one off of 434, is critical. It's the first impression that anyone has entering downtown Binghamton, and it's really important as we continue revitalizing our downtown economy. This is going to have to happen as we see on Front Street. These are very, very, very well-traveled and very important thoroughfares. Reconstruction of these gateways is something that has to be done in terms of keeping up with our city's infrastructure, putting in that extra money to make sure that we actually are getting a better product in the future and actually improving our entrances into the city, not just necessarily refurbishing them, is really important as well. So this is a project meant for the future in terms of creating a brighter one, and certainly something I support. I hope we can pass it unanimously. Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
Call the question.
Question been called?
Councilman Scarnecchia?
Nay.
Councilman Livingston?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kranz?
Aye.
Councilman Taylor?
Aye.
Councilman Pastrana?
Aye.
Councilman Mazza?
Aye.
President Scanlon?
Aye.
That's 6 ayes, 1 nay, Scaringi.
On to introductory ordinance 19-32, considered finance, Councilman Papstra.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for unanimous approval of introductory ordinance 019-32.
Second.
This is an ordinance to amend the 2019 snow removal budget for salt and sand.
Questions or comments? Councilman Scringer.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is just a piece of legislation just to ensure that we're transferring over enough money to ensure that the salt budget is upheld. We've obviously had quite a bit more of an erratic winter than I think many of us thought, and our DPW workers, as well as those who we contract out with, have really done a phenomenal job this winter. Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
Call the question, Mr. President.
Questions been called.
Councilman Scaringi.
Aye.
Councilman Livingston.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kranz.
Aye.
Councilman Taylor.
Aye.
Councilman Papstra.
Aye.
Councilman Mazza.
Aye.
President Scanlon.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Introductory ordinance 19-33, considered finance, Councilman Papstra.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for unanimous approval of introductory ordinance 019-33.
Second.
This is an ordinance to amend the 2018 sewer budget to increase expenditures for construction materials and wages.
Questions or comments? Councilman Scringer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, this is just a transfer of a little slightly under $1,100 to ensure that the budget line is held up. Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
Call the question, Mr.
Questions
President.
been called.
Councilman Scaringi.
Aye.
Councilman Livingston.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kranz.
Aye.
Councilman Taylor.
Aye.
Councilman Papstra.
Aye.
Councilman Mazza.
Aye.
And President Scanlon.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Introductory ordinance 19-34, considered finance, Councilman Papstra.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for unanimous approval of introductory ordinance 019-34.
Second.
This is an ordinance to reconcile the 2018 parking ramps budgeted expenditures.
Questions or comments? Councilman Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just for the sake of public transparency, this is just a $188 budget transfer to round up some numbers and make it accurate in the 2018 budget. We're transferring 188 from electricity and putting 130 into preventative maintenance and 57 into gas/diesel fuel. It's a really, really small transfer, and just to make sure all the numbers are correct for last year's budget. Thanks.
Other questions or comments? Councilman Scringer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, piggybacking off of what Councilman Taylor just said, this is again just another one, just like Resolution 33, 2018 bills coming in to just make sure that we can eventually close the budget. Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
Call the question, Mr. President.
Questions been called.
Councilman Scaringi.
Aye.
Councilman Livingston.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kranz.
Aye.
Councilman Taylor.
Aye.
Councilman Papstra.
Aye.
Councilman Mazza.
Aye.
And President Scanlon.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Introductory ordinance 19-35, considered planning, Councilman Mazza.
Thank you, Mr. President. I stand and ask for unanimous consideration on ordinance 1935.
Second.
An ordinance authorizing the sale of 26 Stuyvesant Street to Jeffrey Kent. Now we have seeker review. An ordinance authorizing the sale of 26 Stuyvesant Street to Jeffrey Kent. A motion to declare City Council as lead agency under seeker.
Second. All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
A motion to identify the purpose, action as unlisted under seeker.
Second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to issue a negative declaration under seeker for the following reasons. The City of Binghamton is transferring 26 Stuyvesant Street, Binghamton, New York, tax parcel number 160.42-2-48, a vacant residential property parcel consisting of approximately 68 feet by 56 feet to an adjoining property owner. The purpose of the sale will merge this vacant lot with an existing parcel, providing parking on the existing pavement and preserve green space. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, Mr. Rogers, please.
Councilman Scaringi.
Aye.
Councilman Livingston. Aye. Councilwoman Crumbs.
Aye.
Councilman Taylor.
Aye.
Councilman Patrick.
Aye.
Councilman Mazza.
Aye.
And President Scan.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes and 0 nays.
Okay, once again, we'll read this ordinance 1935, an ordinance authorizing the sale of 26 Stuyvesant Street to Jeffrey Kent.
Second.
All in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Call the question.
Question been called.
Councilman Scaringi.
Aye.
Councilman Livingston. Aye. Councilwoman Crumbs.
Aye.
Councilman Taylor.
Aye.
Councilman Patrick.
Aye.
Councilman Mazza.
Aye.
And President Scan.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes, 0 nays.
On to introductory resolution 19-36, considered finance, Councilman Papistran.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for unanimous approval of introductory ordinance 019-36.
Second.
This is an ordinance to amend the 2018 water budget to fund 2 invoices from Denali Water Solutions. The funding will be transferred from electricity and gas heat lines of $50,056.34 and transferred and increase the line for wastewater processing fee to $50,056.34.
Questions or comments?
Call the question.
Questions been called?
Councilman Scaringi.
Aye.
Councilman Livingston. Aye. Councilwoman Crumbs.
Aye.
Councilman Taylor.
Aye.
Councilman Patrick.
Aye.
Councilman Mazza.
Aye.
And President Scan.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes, 0 nays.
On to introductory resolution 19-18, considered finance, Councilman Papistran.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, I'd like to ask for unanimous approval of introductory resolution 19-18.
Second.
This is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Family Enrichment Network Incorporated for the use of fiscal year 44 home funding in an amount not to exceed $100,000 for a homeless housing project at 31 Burgess.
Questions or comments? Councilman Taylor.
Thank you. The first barrier for lifting yourself out of poverty is a permanent place to live, a quality place to live, a home. Many studies have shown this, and it also just makes sense. The more that the city can do to ensure that our most vulnerable residents have a home, have a place to develop a life, have a place to raise a family, the better. And that's exactly what we're striving for with this project on Liberty Street on the north side. This will ensure that, dozens of more at-risk individuals will have a place to live, and it's certainly something that I'm very supportive of. I hope that in the near future, these folks will be, just run-of-the-mill residents of the north side community or the city as a whole or of our county that are living, working, raising a family just like all of us want to do in our own lives. If there are any questions about what this project is supposed to look like, feel free to reach out to me, cstaylor@cityofbinghamton.com. Or if you've got the opportunity, we're actually going to be talking about this project in depth at tomorrow's Northside Assembly meeting at 6 p.m. at the Centenary Shenango Street Church on Shenango Street on the north side. For tons more information, you can stop by. But as you can probably tell, I hope that this passes unanimously. Thank you.
Are there questions or comments?
Call the question, Mr. President.
Questions been called?
Councilman Scaringi.
Aye.
Councilman Livingston. Aye. Councilwoman Crumbs.
Aye.
Councilman Taylor.
Aye.
Councilman Patrick.
Aye.
Councilman Mazza.
Aye.
And President Scan.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, on to communication from council members, and we'll start with Councilman Papistran.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to say that the St. Patty's Day Parade, we lucked out with the weather. It was a little cold, but it was a lot more bearable than other years. We're marching down the street, and it was wonderful to see a lot of the local residents as well as the students that showed up for the parade. Everyone was in good spirits. I haven't heard too much of anything of the wrongdoing going on, so I applaud all the parade goers for having fun and doing it in a respectful manner. And this weekend, we have daylight savings time. It's coming earlier and earlier, it seems, but it's great to see that we're going to have a little more daylight in the evening. And I predict, with my friend Onatani Fell, that we're going to have an early spring, and hopefully it's next week. So, have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. And Councilman Matzo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I walked around my district this week a little bit, talking to people, seeing what's going on, seeing how our streets were as far as the DPW and the plowing and the ice. Everybody was very pleased, and I went to the highest points in my district, and Decatur and through that area. People were very pleased this year with the salting and the plowing and everything else. So thank you to the DPW and Mayor David for really working on this, and that's one of the reasons why we need more salt. As far as Punxsutawney Phil, I think they should keep him in his hole because he lied again. It's still not early enough yet. It's cold. It's
toast crust.
It's very cold, and next week's supposed to warm up a little bit better, but it's not over until it's over. And with that, have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. And Councilman Scridgen.
Thank you, Mr. President. It seems like when you work collectively in a group to get something done, you can be shocked at how barriers can actually hold things down. Our assistant corporation counsel might know that better than anyone else. It's been a long time coming. We had a really blighted property as a result of a house fire back in 2014, and for all intents and purposes, for a number of reasons that I'll be honest, really don't matter that much anymore. We're stuck in the court system, and due to that, it disallowed and disadvantaged and handicapped us from being able to act on it independently. And I really incredibly need to commend a number of people in City Hall, because the moment that barrier came down, it was literally all hands on deck from day one. I definitely want to thank, obviously, the constituents and the residents who live on Judson and Lorraine for being so patient. You've lived a little over 5 years now. We passed the anniversary with this. Our Office of Corporation Counsel, all of my annoying phone calls and emails and door knocks and constituents. Sharon, thank you. It's moments like this when we recognize it really takes a group effort to get something done, regardless of how small or large it is. I want to thank, quite frankly, the people who knocked 10 Judson down. It was actually pretty cold outside. And if my understanding is correctly, out of the normal demolition season as well, in terms of the calendar year. And just to see that area open right now and flat out, and how it may even be greened out come spring, is just incredibly exciting. So I want to thank Ken, Sharon, everyone in the Office of Corporation Counsel's office. I definitely want to thank Mayor David for, as well, helping to assist in shepherding this along all the way. But Sharon, I got to be honest with you, the trophy goes to you on this one. It's been a long time coming, and it's great to see it done. And again, another blighted property out of the way and gone forever as we were picking our neighborhoods back up. I want to thank the Parks Department today. I actually got some contact, some reach out contact, forgive me, from some constituents in the ward over in Franklin Valley Street. There were actually some trees that actually came down and hit over on a property's fence. And no joke, I sent an email to Carol Quinlivan yesterday afternoon, followed up with a phone call almost 5 o'clock, and no joke, by 9 o'clock this morning as I'm driving to work, I get a note that it is already pulled out. So I want to thank Paul, I want to thank Nick, I want to thank the entire team for following up. And to be perfectly honest, the way the branch fell, it was actually due to a tree that was quite frankly on a property that was not the city's responsibility. But because we have so many people that work in this building, that live in our city, that are taxpayers in our city, that care about our city, they said, nope, we're going to take care of it, and they got it done. So I really want to thank them for that. First Ward Neighborhood Watch is 2 weeks from today, 6 p.m. St. Mike's on Clinton Street in the Ward, 6 p.m. Hope to see you there. We're actually going to have members from the BPD and the Community Response Team and the Police Department there. So I want to thank Lieutenant Quinones and everyone who will be joining us. Lastly, Parade Day, if you were there, it was a lot of fun. It was great to see everybody there. And to be perfectly honest, I really want to thank everyone who was responsible for the cleanup. If you go to bigger cities, if you've ever looked to brazen the cold on a New Year's Eve in Times Square, it's incredibly shocking. Within a matter of a 10-block radius, there's literally over 1 million people. And the moment that ball drops at midnight, literally no joke, by 12:20, 12:25 in the morning, it literally looks like there wasn't one person there for over 24 hours. And we literally had that same cleanup. Right away, it was phenomenal. So I want to thank everyone who did that. And I definitely am in agreement. Hopefully spring comes sooner rather than later. And considering the cold, again, please watch your neighbors, especially seniors, and don't leave your pets outside for a long time.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Livingston.
Thank you, Mr. President. So at the last business meeting, I mentioned the first annual Vines Garden Bowl. It was a huge success. I was surprised. I don't think I've bowled in 10 years. But the whole bowl was packed full of people. There wasn't even enough space there for all the people who wanted to bowl. And Vines raised around $7,000, which is pretty incredible for a first-time fundraiser. And somehow, the team that I was on, we walked away with a trophy for the high score, which was surprising to me. I don't think I've ever bowled above 100 before in my life, but I did that day twice. Also, I want to thank my constituents who have been contacting me since I came onto the city council. It's actually been a really grounding experience. It helps me navigate City Hall in a really focused way. And I also want to thank some of my constituents for coming to some of these meetings, coming to the traffic board meetings to bring their concerns forward. I'm always happy if any of my constituents are here or listening tonight. I'm always happy to help guide you through the process of dealing with the question or concern inside City Hall. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Councilman. I know Councilwoman Kranz.
Well, thank you. I'm not going to say the best one last, except for you, of course.
And me.
So on March 11th, we will reinstate the 3D, the 3rd District Crime Watch at Post 80 with our new officer, our new district officer, Bidwell. So I'm excited for that. A lot of constituents have been reaching out. There's a new, just a new vibe going on in the district, and I'm really excited because this is something that is new. I tried 2 years ago to have this, and it flopped. So it's nice to see the community really starting to want this for themselves, because a community crime watch does need a community. So it's good. We also have the resident student outreach board for the students. You are in my district. If you want a card, I'd like to give it to you. We have worked with students since I've been on the city council. We've worked to reinstate the Leroy Street bus stop. We've also worked to help clean up. There was very big issues going on at Riverside Drive with the mansions. we fixed those. It took a year to fix. We're here for the long term. I'll still be ready when I'm not here. So don't worry. And as for the East Middle Schools, my daughters went to those schools. They are wonderful schools. The teachers are underpaid and overworked and harassed a lot by the students. I know that I have kids that went there. I stand with their teachers, and it's already been proven that what they said about East Middle School did not happen. And I just want to make sure that that is clear, because spreading rumors like that is not cool. It's going to put down our school. It's going to put down our city. So I support our teachers. They work very hard. They don't get paid a lot. And they have more and more students every year with less and less budget. And with that, have a good night.
Thank you, Councilwoman. On to Councilman Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to thank our speakers for coming tonight. Hearing from the public is always exciting and important. Sharon, you always have some positive things to say, and we're always thankful for your words of encouragement, but also for the issues that you bring to our attention. To the folks from Gen Vogue, I certainly hear you. I think that listening to the concerns of young people and students in our community is not only important, but if we're not doing it, we are failing a large portion of our constituency. So thank you for saying that, and to Mr. Abdelazim for bringing an issue to our attention that I didn't know about. So we should certainly look into that pilot agreement as well. I mentioned it briefly earlier, Northside Assembly meeting tomorrow, 6 p.m. at the Centenary Shenango Street Church. I want to thank Lori Clift from IT for coming down to last night's work session to talk to the council about some new measures and technology that we're considering taking in terms of officially recording meetings, updating our sound and video systems, just, pushing Binghamton City Council into the 21st century and making council meetings more accessible so that not just our most active or whatever the word is, constituents can come to these meetings and watch these meetings, but also do so from their home and online and watch them after, because we want to be encouraging that sort of interaction between Binghamton City Council and the constituents that we represent. Lastly, a really exciting thing that's happening in the district next week on Thursday for anyone who's a fan of the Beatles. At the Forum Theater, the Binghamton Philharmonic is teaming up with the nationally acclaimed Classical Mystery Tour. They have been huge all over the country because they mimic the sound of the Beatles pretty much perfectly. So they have a pretty large following as a Beatles tribute band, and they're teaming up with the Binghamton Philharmonic to put on a really exciting concert at the Forum. So anyone who's interested in that, tickets are still available for next Thursday at the Forum. So check those out on the Binghamton Philharmonic website. That's pretty much it for me. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week.
Thank you, Councilman. Real brief, I have one thing. Next Tuesday, March 12th at 7 o'clock at the Legion on Robinson Street. I have a neighborhood meeting scheduled. We have a special guest. So if you can make that, please attend. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion. Second.